Cleo was a 32-year-old woman who lived alone in a home that was much too large for her. It had been left to her in her parents' will. She had had it remodeled with hardwood floors, polished concrete countertops, lots of windows and drapery, and beautiful, strong, yet inviting furniture that reflected both her modern tastes and her love of different textures. She had turned one room into her private studio for her to play her violin in. She had started studying the violin further back than even she could remember. She had seen a picture of herself at the age of 3, awkwardly holding her chin in the chin rest, one hand on the neck, and the other grasping a bow and squeezing it with pudgy little fingers. It was easily one of her favorite pictures. Both her parents were standing on either side of her, and they looked as proud as any parents could look. She was currently the principal's second violin in the string section of her symphony, but there was an opening for the position of first violin, and she was going to audition. She knew that she had the ability and the talent and the drive. She just had to prove herself. So every evening after work, sometimes skipping dinner, she would sit in her violin room and practice the piece she had chosen for her audition. She had chosen to play Ernst's Variations on the Last Rose of Summer, which, as any violinist knows, is easily one of the top 5 most difficult pieces to perform, let alone master. But she knew that she would, and she only had 5 weeks to prepare, so she could waste no time. Cleo had no other particularly close relatives since her parents had passed 3 years ago, and she was very much an introvert who had a difficult time making or keeping friends. She had acquaintances through her orchestra, but they never asked her to go out with them after a performance or a practice, to get a drink, or to go to the cigar bar they all talked about as if it was the place where the kids would hang out who were cool, to drink overpriced red wines and smoke. She knew she would hate it, but also longed to not feel so excluded, to at least be asked. There was a man also in the string section who seemed to fancy her a bit, but she got a strange feeling from him. He too would be auditioning for the chair she wanted so badly. However, to her he seemed like he was a little too interested in the things about her, and his voice, the way he spoke. He would drag his S's out like a creeping snake about to pounce on its prey. He'd ask so many questions and say such strange things to her, such as, "Do you have a lover? When was the last time you were in a relationship? Your hair is beautiful and smells lovely. May I come see what you've done to your house sometime? Your hands are perfection. May I touch them?" No. She'd rather be alone than accept an invitation from him. Snake Man, she referred to him in her head. But she did know that even though he was never asked, he would go to the cigar bar with the others, and she wondered what they thought of him. They never did ask him to go, but did they dislike him? Did he give them the creeps too? Or maybe it was just something as simple as they knew he'd go anyway, so why bother addressing the issue? So, night after night for hours, until she could just not stay awake any longer, she practiced and practiced. This piece required such precise and quick movements that it actually sounded at times as if 2 violins at once were being played, and she found it particularly difficult to maneuver, but she was determined that this audition would be her finest ever, that there'd be no way that anyone could even come close to how well she'd play this piece, and also that she'd be recognized for choosing such a difficult piece. She'd walk into her home every night, and before she'd enter her violin room, she'd turn off every light in the house except for the ones in that room. One wall of that room was specially made glass that would not absorb the sound of her violin, but instead helped the sound to soar. Outside of that wall was a lighted waterfall, and although she could not hear it, she would often play while watching it. She felt that it gave her strength and brought a certain calmness to her playing. When she auditioned, she decided she'd be picturing that waterfall. Finally, one night, 3 days before her audition, she sat down to play, and it was pure perfection. Her bow moved with precise precision. Her violin purred like a beautiful soul was sweeping forth to create waves of tension and calm and to entangle the listener with the velvety, smooth embrace of all its glory. And she played her last note, and as she did, she saw, in the reflection of the window, the man, the snake man, as he walked towards her, slowly clapping.
Bravissimo.